Watson for Watson, and more to come. She's the New Jersey Player of the Year. We'll get into that. We'll get into St. Augustine's big win. But first, let's hit the Wayback Machine, as they used to say on Rocky and Bullwinkle, and go back a week ago to what took place at Stockton, the Cape Atlantic League Championships. Because we're on so early, we only got to preview the games. But Mike McGarry joins us now to sort of give a quick recap of what took place there in the girls and boys championships. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
I'm fine. Pete, how are you this morning?
I am well, thank you. And I know that both the girls game was somewhat competitive, a lot of whistles, and the boys game, well, let's just say it was memorable for all the wrong reasons, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like so much has happened in this past week with the state basketball tournament, state wrestling, that it seems like eons ago. But it's worth remembering the Atlantic City girls won their first Cape Atlantic League tournament. They beat Mainland Regional in the final. The Vikings did it did it all season long with their defense. They really harassed Mainland ball handlers all over the court. I think they jumped out to a quick, 10-0 or 12-0 lead. Sienna and Red Howard with a great game was the MVP. Atlantic City's great freshman, 6'1", 6'2" freshman, Quinera Cherry Montague, with just a great game, really opened up some eyes there. And so the Atlantic City girls got their second overall CAL championship and their first CAL tournament win. And you mentioned in the boys game, back in January, the Wirewood Catholic boys had really handled St. Augustine down in North Wirewood, winning that game by close to 40 points. And Wirewood Catholic, the kind of speculation going into Saturday was, could the Crusaders do it again? Well, they did it again. They jumped all over St. Augustine, won the game 70-something to 30-something, and won their third straight CAL tournament and their fourth overall, which is a league record.
Mike McGarry with us. Mike, you also talked as we've gotten into the state too now in the state games, there are teams that go one and done. There are teams that surprise people. I saw the tweet out there, hey, when's the last time a 16 seed made it to the sectional semifinals? And that was a layup for you. You just threw that right back down. EHT, for example, it was a nice story, or is a nice story.
Yeah, it's still ongoing. The EHT Eagles live today. I mean, during the season, Coach Cameron Bell, I covered them. They beat your school, ACIT, at EHT in February. And I remember Coach Cameron Bell just saying, hey, we just want to get a chance to get in the playoffs. We don't care if it's at a number 16 seed. We got a young team. We want the experience. We want a chance to get in. Well, the Eagles get in as the number 16 seed. And lo and behold, they upset Toms River North, the number 1 seed, and many people, including me, thought would win South Jersey Group 4. So they beat them on Tuesday night, really stunned the state high school basketball community. And then on Thursday night, all they did was surprise the state high school community this time, because they beat the number 9 seed Williamstown. So now today at noon, EHT will be at 4th-seeded Cherry Hill East in a South Jersey Group 4 semifinal with a chance to go to the final. And EHT, a young team, Carlos Lopez, a sophomore, excellent three-point shooter, DJ Germain, a freshman, who had 21 points in the win over Williamstown. So the Eagles are young. People might have thought, hey, they might be a year away. Well, the future is now, because they're in a South Jersey Group 4 semifinal today at noon in Cherry Hill.
Also playing today, the Atlantic City boys. They're a 3 seed at number 2 Lenape. And your tweet the other night, as you went to see Atlantic City take on Cherokee, I believe was who they played. You went in to see that game, and your tweet where, first of all, you said they won 53-38, but the second part of that, they gave up 3 total baskets in the second half. Once again, defense coming to the forefront at this time of year for Gene Allen's Vikings.
Yeah, this Atlantic City team, past Atlantic City teams, the 2012 team, the 2013 team that won State Group 4 championships. Atlantic City is famous for their defense and relying on their defense. But those teams and past Vikings teams had, kind of flashy scorers that they could depend upon, guys who could really be dependent upon to say, hey, no matter what happens, that guy's going to get me 15 to 20 points tonight. That guy's going to get a key basket for me in the closing minutes of a playoff game. That's not really the case with these Vikings. They don't have that player, so they have really embraced that do the dirty work, do the little things, play defense mentality. They did it the other night. They beat Cherokee, like you said, 53-38. They did not allow Cherokee a basket for more than 13 minutes in the second half. Cherokee had just 3 baskets the entire second half. That adds up to moving on in the playoffs. The Vikings will be at Lenape tonight at 6 o'clock in the South Jersey Group 4 game. I'll be at that game, one of 2 games I'm heading out to today. I'll be at that game, so you can follow me on Twitter for updates. And that'll be a defensive matchup. You know, before the season started, many people thought Lenape was the choice to win South Jersey Group 4. They kind of had an inconsistent regular season, but now they're here in the semifinals as the 2 seed, the Vikings as the 3 seed, in a semifinal 6 o'clock tonight at Lenape.
Now in South Jersey non-public B, Mike McGarry, Wildwood Catholic, obviously, well, they're the 2 seed, but they're pretty dominant so far, 83-58 over Holy Spirit, and now they get Mater Dei in the semis tonight at 7 o'clock. Will that game be closer?
Mater Dei, I saw them play earlier in the year. They beat Atlantic City at Ocean City PBA tip-off weekend. And then a few weeks later at the Seagull Classic at Holy Spirit, Mater Dei Middle Township took Mater Dei to overtime. Here's what I say about Wildwood Catholic. They are very tough to beat down in North Wildwood in that tiny gym. Obviously, they're a very talented team. We know all about them. Taj Speed, Jaleel White, Jacob Hopping. We know how good they are. They are very tough to beat at their home court. Mater Dei, however, does have an excellent guard in Pete Gorman. He's a player to watch. So, it won't be easy for Wildwood Catholic, but you would expect Wildwood Catholic to be able to advance on their home court to a final on Wednesday, the South Jersey non-public D final.
And one more boys game to touch on before we flip over to the girls. And St. Augustine, that phrase, sharing is caring, proves to be true as they beat Bishop Eustace 67-52.
Yeah, St. Augustine gets a really, outstanding effort from all 5 starters. El Marco Jackson, Kevin Foreman, Matt Delaney were in double figures. Keith Palick and John Horner were close behind. And last night they beat Bishop Eustace, and what was unique about the game was each one of those 5 players had their moments where they kind of carried St. Augustine or sparked St. Augustine. It was John Horner early. Then Palick made some threes. Matt Delaney came alive in the second half. He had 12 of his 14 in the second half. And then Foreman and Jackson really made sure the lead held up in the fourth quarter. Foreman had 8 points. Jackson, I think, was 6 of 7 from the foul line. Foreman and Jackson with dunks in the final minute to sort of clinch the victory. So St. Augustine bouncing back from that loss we talked about earlier to Wildwood Catholic at Stockton, kind of putting that behind them. They get the win last night, and now they'll go to top-seeded Paul VI on Monday night at 7 o'clock in the South Jersey non-public A semifinal.
Mike McGarry is with us talking playoff basketball. It's that time of year now. On the girls' side of things, I know the game that's today is Middle Township, and John Leahy, no matter who the athletes are, he always seems to, they're well coached, they're well prepared. They have to go to number 2 Haddonfield in the Group 2 semifinals today at 1 o'clock. But if you're Haddonfield, you're not thinking this is a cupcake. You're like, oh, God, Middle Township again.
No, not at all. And that's the first game I'll be at today, so people can follow me on Twitter for updates on that one. I'll be up at Haddonfield, 1 o'clock tip there. Middle Township has had an excellent season. They had that unfortunate draw in the Cape Atlantic League tournament where they faced Mainland Regional in the first round and lost a close game to them. But Middle Township has played a tough schedule. They're battle-tested and ready for today. Kira Sides, over close to 1,600 career points. Jenna Hurley went over the 1,000 career point mark in their last game, in their last playoff win. So they're battle-tested and ready to go. And they've been in the South Jersey Group 2 final 2 out of the last 3 years, so they're going to try to make it 3 out of 4 today up at Haddonfield.
And then, of course, I tell everybody that listens to this show, subscribe to the Press of Atlantic City. Get it in the blue bag. My guy, Kim Johnson, puts it right on my doorstep, so I don't even have to go that far. When I open my door in the morning, I'm thankful for him and thankful to read your writing. And Charles Schroeder tweets out the covers and what they look like, so that's fantastic. Today's layout is a nice big color picture of one Kylie Watson, 2,000 career points and counting. And boy, we should acknowledge Absegami. Props to them for winning a playoff game. But then, of course, the reward is they had to go to Mainland, and they really struggled last night as Mainland roughs up Absegami. But Kylie Watson, the story there.
Yeah, Kylie Watson becomes, off the top of my head, I'm going to say she's the 7th or 8th press area girl to top the 2,000 career point mark. She came into the game needing 5 points, and Mainland Regional, playing well right now. They had played well going into the Cape Atlantic League tournament. They beat Middle Township in the Cape Atlantic League tournament. They beat Wildwood Catholic in the Cape Atlantic League tournament. They stubbed their toe against Atlantic City, but they come back in the state tournament, and now they're in a South Jersey final. And that win over Absegami yesterday, Pete, that kind of surprised me, the score of that game. Absegami had been playing very well. The Fortis girl had come back to them. She had given them a boost. Absegami, great season. They make it to the South Jersey Group 3 semifinals. 2 big playoff wins. Come from behind wins. They beat Toms River South, Timber Creek. Quality playoff wins for an Absegami girls basketball team that has a lot of underclassmen and something to build on. So, but kudos to Mainland. I was kind of surprised that they were able to win that game as lopsided as it was. And now, of course, it's March. And what does March in South Jersey Group 3 mean? It means Ocean City versus Mainland. We got it in last year's final. We'll get it again in this year's final, 4 o'clock Tuesday at Mainland.
Ooh, that is must-see basketball for sure. By the way, Kylie Watson, Gatorade Player of the Year for state of New Jersey. That's no small accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, just another honor in what is, the honors are beginning to sort of flow in, and deservedly so for Kylie. McDonald's All-American, playing in the Jordan Classic game in Chicago, playing in the McDonald's All-American game in April. Now the New Jersey Gatorade Player of the Year, 2,000 career points, 1,000 career rebounds, University of Oregon recruit, and it really just goes to show you. I can remember, doing a story on Kylie, in her freshman year, I think, even before she scored her first varsity point, she had Division I scholarship offers. And the great thing about Kylie, I say it all the time, is, she could have gone to any high school around. She could have gone to one of these academies. She could have gone to an IMG down in Florida. But what did she do? She went to the school down the bike path from her house. She plays with the girls that she grew up with, like Maddie Heffitz, and she's gotten all the rewards. She's won a state championship. She's been recruited by a national power. She's the New Jersey Player of the Year. She's a McDonald's All-American. So it's proof that you can go to your local high school, Pete, and get the most out of your high school basketball career.
Mike McGarry with us here on the Pete Thompson Show. Follow him on Twitter at AC Press McGarry. 2 games he'll be at today, so a must follow on Twitter for sure. And speaking of girl power, Mike, not 1 but 2 girls advanced to the state wrestling tournament finals at Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall. In fact, 2 of the 3 local wrestlers, girl power, man. 2 of the 3 are girls. As 3 local wrestlers have reached the state finals.
Yeah, a great event. Obviously, every March at Boardwalk Hall, when the state wrestling kind of invades Atlantic City. Joelle Klein of Lower Cape May one, a girl from Mainland is the other one. We got JT Cornelius of Southern Regional on the boys' side wrestling for state titles. So always a dramatic day up at Boardwalk Hall, as Boardwalk Hall will hold the wrestling today, and then they'll take a deep breath and get ready for that MAC college basketball tournament rolling into town on Tuesday. So, yes, 2 local girls going for state championships. A great story out there at Boardwalk Hall today.
Yeah, and Mike Mista is in the piece. St. Augustine, he can get no lower than 6th. Right now.
And I believe he can wrestle his way back to 3rd. He lost in the quarterfinals last night. The St. Augustine 195-pounder Mike Missentow, who's had a great season, led the Hermits to a South Jersey Championships and the state final earlier this year. But he can wrestle back and still finish 3rd.
Right, very much so. Even if you have a loss, you can still find a way to the podium on Saturday. So you recalibrate your goals, if you were. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on the front page of the whole paper today was a nice story about the fact that people make it a tradition to come to Boardwalk Hall, and that's up for that contract's up, right? They'll have to renegotiate after this one.
Yeah, I believe so. What'll probably happen is the NJSAA will put out a request for a proposal for other arenas. But I think, I think the relationship with Atlantic City, the relationship with Boardwalk Hall is so strong. I can't imagine it sort of moving out, especially, I mentioned the MAC basketball tournament earlier. That's booked in Boardwalk Hall for this year and the next 2 years. The wrestling has its dates kind of set. So I can't see it, really moving on from Boardwalk Hall. It's really become a destination. Kids in grammar school, when they start wrestling at early ages at feeder programs, the goal is to get to Atlantic City. It's really been branded with the sport. It's synonymous. It's a sign of success. I've talked to hundreds of kids that talk about wrestling in Boardwalk Hall. It's quite a sight with all the wrestling mats laid out on the floor and stuff like that. It really is a tremendous event, and I would find it hard to believe that the NJSAA and Boardwalk Hall would part ways. So I would think that would be a tradition that would both sides would work to keep going.
Yeah, the quote that was in the preview story, or the quote that was in the story today, sounded like the NJSAA was optimistic and eager to continue the relationship. So I'm a big believer in that too, Mike. In my time, in my career, I spent time in Omaha. And when the bat manufacturers started putting Omaha on the bats, that's where you knew the College World Series had found an appropriate home of the right size town. And to parallel that, I would say that state wrestling in Atlantic City, once they did the redo of the hall and it fits and works the way that it should, I can't imagine it being anywhere else.
Yeah, and you look at around the state, there's only so many arenas around the state that could host the event. So, obviously Boardwalk Hall is one. Is the Prudential Center up in Newark, is that too big? That sits 20,000. Like you mentioned, they redid Boardwalk Hall. It's almost the perfect size for that event right now. Where else could it go? And I just think the tradition that it has, that it's wrestlers want to get to Atlantic City. They grow up with the goal of getting to Atlantic City. Everybody knows what that means in the wrestling world, getting to Atlantic City, wrestling in Atlantic City. Like you said, the quotes in the story are optimistic. And again, I can't see, I think it's in both sides' interest, both the NJSAA and Boardwalk Hall, to continue that relationship with the state wrestling at Atlantic City.